The following program is classified M. It contains some violence and adult themes. Channel 10 recommends viewing by mature audiences.
Marion, if you're out there, just get in contact with us. Just want to know you're all right.
A brother's anguish for his missing sister.
She's a 13-year-old girl that just can't disappear.
Xanthe Mallett investigates the mystery of Marion Reese.
My own personal opinion is that she has disappeared and that she may be still out there somewhere.
Plus, King hit and left for dead.
And then King hit from behind. The jawbone came out through the neck.
We as humans should not do that to each other. He was lucky he didn't die.
The thieves who robbed a widow.
I'd be devastated if somebody took my rings. I can't believe that people would do something like that. I just hope that they get caught.
And the bikie turf war. On the run after a massive drug haul. That's tonight on Wanted.
Hello and welcome. Stay with us for the next hour live on Wanted, where we'll investigate those cases and many more.
And I'm in Brisbane tonight at the Crime Stoppers call centre. I've been in Queensland investigating a missing persons case that has now dramatically turned into the investigation of a double murder.
That's another of the unsolved cases where Australian police are asking for your help tonight on Wanted.
We begin with the story of David Borthwick, the victim of a violent King hit in Sydney's Blacktown, which smashed his teeth, broke his jaw and left him needing 8 operations. Now, David's story illustrates the disturbing increase in the number of assaults across Australia. According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, last year, 539,800 people were assaulted nationwide. That represents 3% of the population. And disturbingly, it's 44% higher than the previous year. Now, of these, 59% involved alcohol or drugs. Assaults leave more than 3,000 Australians suffering brain injuries each and every year. Dave Borthwick's case has led to wide condemnation. Police say the King hit was completely unprovoked and they are now appealing for your help to hunt his attackers down. I caught up with David last week. He was the guy with a killer smile. Dave Borthwick was one of those blokes who squeezed the absolute max out of life. And then he went from this to this in the blink of an eye.
If he'd been in a blue at the pub, you'd understand it. But when nothing like that happened, it's unbelievable.
Here we can see Dave in the white shirt having a quiet drink with his friends. And this bloke walking through is the man police are very keen to talk to. More about him later. This is a suburban hotel in the western suburbs of Sydney. But unlike most suburban hotels, this place stays open until 3 a.m. And it was then, at closing time on the 27th of April this year, that Dave Borthwick and his friends set out to walk from the pub to a house just across the street. In effect, it was a 100-metre walk, but he never made it.
Just remember, leaving the venue, walking with my friend beside me. Noticed, a couple of guys walking the opposite direction going up towards the entry, and it wasn't until they were right beside me where I just got a full-blooded elbow straight to the jaw, and then King hit from behind from another guy.
You remember the impact of being King hit from behind?
Yeah, I remember the impact.
You didn't say anything to them? There was no exchange?
No, nothing at all. Completely unprovoked. Never seen him before. Never had any altercations.
Detective Senior Constable Mark Scott Margette has been on the case since that night.
All witnesses' accounts, both people who were friends with David and not, have all stated that this attack was unprovoked. In most circumstances for assaults, there is some sort of incident building up to that assault. So it is rare in this situation because the attack is so unprovoked and cowardly.
They were just looking to beat somebody up. I think, a guy that's had a few drinks, he mightn't be able to fend off too well. And, we feel like bashing someone tonight, so let's do it.
The damage was horrendous.
I thought at one time that he had died. he just sort of, everything went still. His eyes were open and he wasn't moving. And I was in a hell of a panic. I thought he'd died in front of me.
I've got a plate put into my jaw where the jawbone came out through the neck. Yeah, had fractures up on top of the jaw and, you know, both jaw joints on either side that badly shattered, got them removed. My teeth, 9 teeth in total, are shattered and broken off.
So you mean the jawbone, the broken jawbone, was knocked clear out of your skin?
Yeah.
The fix took 8 operations over 4 months. His jaw was pinned, his mouth full of metal.
Having the jaw wide shut, clamped shut, the joints removed, you know, titanium plates put in where, you know, bones just would not be able to heal again. Had arch bars put in with 30-odd screws to hold that jaw shut. Nearly 300 stitches internally inside. I've had my gum lines fused together and that to try and stop bleeding in certain areas.
And then there were the months spent eating mush.
It was purely liquid diet for 6 weeks. If we had a roast dinner or had steak, whatever, it was prepared the same for David, but in a blender and then through a fine sieve.
Just tell me this, I've got to ask, what does a roast dinner taste like through a straw?
It's the taste and flavour is definitely there, but the texture's an acquired one. I'll tell you that.
How much weight did you lose?
Lost 21 kilo in total. Fell down to 21 kilos I lost.
These days he can get down mum's cake, but is still facing at least 12 trips to the dentist.
Hi David, how are you?
Good, yourself?
I'm very well. Please, come in, have a seat.
This is where Dave did get lucky. When George Lee heard about Dave's plight, he offered to fix his teeth for nothing.
Let's get started. Quite serious dental injuries. His front teeth were quite badly smashed up. One of them had the nerve damaged, and so we're going to have to do a root canal. Additionally, a large number of his back teeth were also damaged during the assault. He's been wired up, so we've had to wait until all the wiring has been removed from his jaws before we could actually get to his teeth.
I remember the plastics team saying, you know, obviously my bite would never be the same again, and you know, your smile's not going to be the same. You know, so I just had to, you know, take it on the chin, so to speak.
Mark, you've spent a lot of time with Dave and his family since this attack. What's been the impact on them?
I believe it's scarred David, and probably will remain to scar him for the rest of his life and his family. Not only the physical consequences of what's happened, but the emotional impact on him.
This is the CCTV from the night that Mark Scott Margette wants you to see. You can see the man that police are very keen to speak with. Dark red top, Islander appearance. Do you believe that someone out there knows who's responsible for this?
I'd say without a doubt that there are numerous people who know who these attackers are, family members, friends, associates of these people who are well aware of what has happened, and what I'd ask them to do is contact Crime Stoppers.
I think it was very barbaric, you know. We as humans should not do that to each other. We should not do that to each other.
What a senseless attack. So this again is the man police believe can help with their inquiries. So if you have any information on his identity, please contact Crime Stoppers. Now this is a national problem, and police have asked us to remind you of some of the other cases we've covered where your help is still needed. Still on the run is the man responsible for the King hit that killed Shannon McCormack in Melbourne in 2007. Police want to talk to the man in the purple shirt. They have also released these identikits, different witness descriptions of the same man. Police hope someone may recognise him. Now to this brawl outside a Melbourne nightclub. It occurred just after 2 a.m. on Australia Day this year. 4 people have been charged, but the main person of interest, the man shown here, is yet to be identified. And over in Perth, police are still looking for a man who threw a violent right hook and knocked out a man at a Baldivis hotel on AFL Grand Final Day last year. The victim suffered a broken jaw and bleeding on the brain. WA police suspect that his attacker may now be in Queensland.
Well, stay with us. There's plenty more ahead on Wanted, including the missing friends police now believe will never come home.
This man is now being considered a double murder.
Without Robert, sometimes it's like there is no family.
Also, the 82-year-old widow targeted by heartless thieves.
Devastated if somebody took my rings. I guess it's the best thing I had.
But next, where is Marion Rees, just 13 when she disappeared?
My own personal opinion is that she has disappeared and that she may be still out there somewhere.
Just want to know. You're all right.
You're with Wanted. Last week, we brought you the story of a missing father of three, Paul Nation. The Perth builder kissed his wife and kids goodbye as he headed off to work and has not been seen or heard of since. That was 3 weeks ago.
You mean the absolute world to us, and we want you home. We just want you home.
Paul's wife Claire appealing for her husband to get in touch. Now to Matt with another missing persons case.
Thanks, Sandra. And this is a missing persons case that's among the most mysterious in Australia. It's the story of 13-year-old Marion Rees, a Sydney teenager who caught a bus to school and has never been seen again. Dr. Xanthe Mallett investigates a baffling cold case.
It's Monday morning, April the 7th, 1975. 8-year-old John Rees and his sister Marion get ready for school.
Come on, John, we'll be late.
Single mum Margaret is caring for 5-year-old Joan in the kitchen.
Bye, Mum. Bye, Joan. Bye, kids. Have a good day. Bye.
I would normally walk through the back of the units and go through a park to get back to my school. Marion would go to the end of the street, get a bus, and just this time I just walked with her to the bus stop.
Marion is in Year 7 at Matraville High, just a short bus ride from their Hillsdale home. The next thing Marion says will last a lifetime for John.
Take care of your sister.
And everything be all right.
Was that something she'd normally say to a little brother? So later that struck you as important?
Yeah.
Marion never arrived at school that day, and by 5 p.m. that afternoon, she wasn't home either. Her brother John, who was just a little 8-year-old boy back then, knew something wasn't right.
I think I went and saw a neighbour across the way and got him to call my mum. Yeah. Because I didn't know what else to do. I went out on a bike and at first I wasn't sure what I was doing. I was just more seeing she could have been up the road somewhere or she could just be late. She could be at a friend's house. When Mum called the police, then I knew it was a bit more serious than that.
Despite the search, no trace of Marion was found. The girl with the flaming red hair and bright personality had simply vanished.
Everybody loved her. Happy, always smiling, big personality, big red hair.
At the age of 8, John was left without a big sister and the person who cared for him.
Marion looked after you a lot, didn't she? Kind of like a second mother figure.
Yeah, she looked after my sister and I quite a lot, yeah.
What was your relationship like with your big sister?
It was good.
Obviously really hard for you when she disappeared. Really close.
She was a 13-year-old girl that just can't disappear without the help of somebody, and somebody must know something.
Sergeant Dean Betts is leading the investigation into Marion's disappearance.
It is very, very mysterious and something we've obviously been working on for a number of years. We know that she lived a bit of a troubled childhood, I guess. Her mother used to work late nights at a nursing home, and she would have to stay home looking after a younger brother and sister who were only about 6 and 7 at the time. She may have been abducted, we don't know. Obviously there is a theory that there is foul play, but there's also a theory that she may have disappeared on her own accord. But there is also, I guess, an angle that she may have had some assistance.
Do you have a gut feeling as to what happened?
My own personal opinion is that she has disappeared and that she may be still out there somewhere.
Today, Hillsdale is still a close-knit community. John is returning for the first time in 30 years.
This is your street?
Yep. I still live over in that house there.
This one here?
Yep.
What are your memories of Marion living here?
Good memories. I remember our room was at the front there, so we got to see what everything was going on in the street. New friends were coming out. We'd run out and play with them and, call them out and everybody would come out. It was just always a hub of activity.
How does a 13-year-old girl simply vanish without a trace? Was she abducted? Did she run away? One intriguing theory is that Marion left to start a new life with another family.
We're aware that she was babysitting for a couple, and they have an unusual surname, sort of like an Eastern European surname, and she would babysit for them in late 74, early 75.
I think they were just a normal family. They seemed normal, a bit out there.
Alternative?
Yeah, that would be probably it.
We know that they asked Margaret, her mother, if she could attend with them or travel around Australia with them for 12 months to babysit their children. Margaret didn't allow this and wanted obviously Marion to stay at home and help her and look after her children. So we don't know who these people are and we don't know any more about them at this point.
A boy who lived a few doors from Marion might be able to help.
I believe she may have had a boyfriend that possibly a name similar to Ian's story or something similar that lived in the Hillsdale area and possibly went to the same school as Marion.
I would think he'd have to know something. I don't think he could be somebody that you couldn't not ask the question of if he hasn't already been asked it.
That's what we're appealing for. Any people that socialised with her as a child, particularly that attended Matraville High School in 74, 75, may have some information. She may have confided in someone that we're unaware of, and obviously if those people are out there, we're hoping that they come forward.
It may have happened almost 4 decades ago, but the Marion Rees case has similarities to every other cold case. It's left hundreds of unanswered questions, it's left deep emotional wounds, and it's left loved ones desperate for answers.
You're not going to give up looking for her?
No. Never have. But as a child, what can you do?
You're 8 years old.
Yeah, I know, but I could have done more.
You're doing more now.
True.
Sadly, Mum Margaret has passed away. But John hasn't given up hope that Marion is still alive.
Marion, if you're out there, just get in contact with us. Just want to know you're all right.
Now, if you have any information at all on this baffling case of Marion Rees, please call Crime Stoppers. Almost 4 decades on, her brother is still desperate for answers. Coming up next on Wanted, a widow's heartbreak over a very personal robbery.
I can't believe that people would do something like that.
These are the suspects caught on camera. Plus, 2 friends once presumed missing, now believed murdered.
We're of the firm belief that we have spoken to the person or persons responsible for the deaths of Robert and Xanthe.
You're with Wanted. Few things provoke more outrage than stealing from the elderly. And tonight, police are asking for your help solving an especially heartless crime. Thieves stole wedding rings and credit cards from a widow, then went on a spending spree across Victoria. But they left some clues behind. This is the story of a spending spree with a difference, and it begins and ends in the Melbourne suburb of St Kilda. Earlier this year, on Wednesday the 13th of March, this pair looked like any other couple, enjoying some shopping and a meal. But they're dining out on a stolen credit card. The card belongs to an elderly victim who lives 300 kilometres away in the small town of Hamilton. Kath is an 82-year-old widow. On Tuesday, March 12, she thought nothing of closing a door. She didn't remember leaving open.
I think they left with the door on the side, the town side of the house.
Because you never used that door.
I never used it.
$10,000 worth of treasured items are gone. The most valuable to Kath, her engagement and wedding rings.
I guess it's the best thing I had. I'd be devastated if somebody took my rings. Just, I don't know. You can't understand there's people like that in the world. That's what worries me.
Kath's wallet is also taken with cash and a credit card.
I can't believe that people would do something like that.
Almost 2 weeks before the burglary at Kath's house, the road trip begins in St Kilda. A man who says he's from Poland hires a silver hatch, a 2009 Kia Rio. In doing so, he's provided a trail of clues for Detective Senior Constable Roger McClure.
He used the name of Antony Buryansky. I'm not sure whether it's his name or not. Could be one he just uses.
After 11 days on the road, he spends the night at a Hamilton caravan park with a woman. And it's around this time that Kath's home is robbed.
Why they picked that particular house and targeted Kathleen would be the most significant thing that I'd like to find out.
On the 13th of March, the day after the burglary, cash is withdrawn from Kath's credit card account in Hamilton. Next stop on their road trip is Ballarat, more than halfway to Melbourne. CCTV cameras record a couple shopping just before 2 p.m. at one shop. At 2:13, there's a lingerie purchase. At 2:39, they go to another store. Cameras reveal the man's distinctive shape and clothing as he buys a mobile phone with Kath's credit card. As he leaves, he shows the guard his shopping bag. The woman is just a few steps behind.
They didn't seem overly concerned about their activities. They weren't trying to hide themselves.
Then the travellers literally go to town, snacking in St Kilda at 5:18 p.m. before clocking up more purchases in shops and chemists. They eat in famous Fitzroy Street. The big day out, all paid for with Kath's stolen card. Just after midnight, there's a final withdrawal, $600 using Kath's card. Then the spending frenzy ends.
All up, the value of the goods that were purchased were approximately $4,500.
The hire car is found abandoned 31 kilometres away in Dandenong 6 weeks later. The man calls the hire car company and tells them he's lost the keys and he's now in Sydney.
They were in the vicinity for 2 months, and once we find out what they've been doing in those 2 months, there may well be other victims.
Do you know the man who calls himself Antony Buryansky? It may be just an alias he gave to the car hire company. Do either of these people look familiar? Victorian Police and Kath herself would certainly like to find out.
I keep getting angry. Just want to hit somebody. Obviously they haven't got a conscience, but I just hope that they get caught. And if they realise what they've done to it, I just hope they never do it again. It's just not fair. Just not fair.
And if you can identify those two people, you'll be helping in the battle against credit and debit card fraud in Australia. And it is fraud on a massive scale. In fact, it amounted to $250 million last year. That's the amount stolen in more than 1.2 million crooked transactions. Now, on top of that, more than $37 million was stolen by counterfeiting and skimming, thieves stealing data from your card's magnetic stripe. Former Detective Superintendent Terry Dalton has more credit fraud cases where you can help.
Well, there's no doubt it's a real scourge, Matt, and it affects every one of us when we pay high credit card fees and charges. So beware of blokes like this. He's a member of a Romanian card skimming gang tampering with an ATM in Sydney. He's installing a sophisticated device. It looks like this and copies the magnetic strip of the card. It also has a pinhole camera that records PIN numbers being punched in. Here are two members of the same gang installing another device while a mate keeps a lookout. So far, this gang has stolen more than $100,000 from Sydney-siders' bank accounts from 15 ATMs. Police have arrested one man but need your help finding the rest of the gang. Now to another theft at a bank in the Sydney suburb of Hornsby. This man's about to steal a huge amount of cash, but not with a gun or any force. He's as cool as a cucumber. He goes to the teller and uses stolen personal details to withdraw $8,000 from another man's account. Next day, the fraudster's back. This time he withdraws 24 grand. He doesn't know it, but at another branch, the real account holder has notified authorities, but it's too late to save the money. Do you recognise this bloke? Police need your help with their investigations. You know the drill. Get onto Crime Stoppers and make sure you keep your credit card details safe.
Thanks, Terry. That Crime Stoppers number, if you can help, is 1800 333 000. Remember, you can go online and you can remain anonymous. Stay with us. Ahead on Wanted, the dark side of the WA mining boom.
Certainly one of the biggest seizures that the WA police have been involved in.
This is the man police need your help to find. But next, what happened to Robert and Chantel? They're missing, now presumed murdered.
So many theories. Robert and Chantel have been shot. Robert and Chantel have been chopped up into many pieces.
In May this year, Queensland Friends 26-year-old Robert Martinez and Chantel Barnett, who's 27, went missing. Now, their disappearance was baffling, but it wasn't until police dug into the darker side of their lives that more sinister explanations began to emerge. We travelled to Rockhampton last week to investigate the story and can now exclusively report that what began as a missing persons case has now become a double murder investigation. Natalie Barnett is marking time.
I come in here every day and I mark off the number of days. And today is 191 days since Chantel's been missing. And until she is found, I will be doing this every day.
Across town, Julie Martinez is also counting the days.
Family was everything to him. Like it is with all of us, we're really close. Like, I don't think you could get any closer. It was like Rob was the core. Without Robert, sometimes it's like there is no family.
Both mothers want answers. Where are their children? Friends, Robert and Chantel. Chantel Barnett and Robert Martinez lived here, Rockhampton, on Queensland's Central Coast. And the mystery of their disappearance has gripped this town for 6 long months. And with a population of just over 60,000, it seems like almost everyone has a theory.
We've heard so many rumours, so many theories. Robert and Chantel took off together. Robert and Chantel have been shot. Robert and Chantel have been chopped up into many pieces and buried, or, you know, it goes on and on.
Sorting rumour from fact is a team of detectives led by Detective Sergeant Peter Roddick. Peter, 6 months have passed now since the last confirmed sighting. Is this still being treated as a missing persons case?
No, it's not. This man is now being considered a double murder based on the fact that our proof of life inquiries have been exhausted. We simply cannot find any proof that Chantel and Robert are alive, and that's been the case now for a while.
A mother of 2 young children, Xanthe was never out of contact with her parents, Natalie and Glenn Barnett.
Oh, she was a good mother. Loved her kids. Loved her kids, you know. She, from day one, you know, she just adored them.
There was a hole there, a big hole in my heart that just... She was the apple of my eye.
Robert was in a 7-year relationship with partner Melissa McKenzie.
He got a necklace, 2 hearts, 2 sides of the hearts. We broke it in half and he took half and I took half.
So he was a bit of a softie then?
Yeah, he was.
Police have discovered that both Robert and Xanthe wrestled a common demon.
We have been able to make some ground in speaking to people in the drug community of Rockhampton. We cannot turn a blind eye to that. Our primary focus is solving the suspected murders of Robert and Xanthe.
Robert and Xanthe were last seen in the early hours of the morning on March 3rd, when the car they were driving broke down.
He came over to my house about between 11:30 and 12:30 on a Thursday night, Friday morning. Got some car parts off another car at the front, and then he left to go fix the car. It's the last time I seen Rob. Never got to say goodbye, never got to say I love you. Last time I seen him.
Robert's brother, Andrew, helped them out that night.
He had a friend with him, and yeah, it was Xanthe, and yeah, I give him a lift down to Maxwell Street to help fix the car, and that's the last I ever seen him.
Police found the vandalised car 15 days later on the outskirts of Rockhampton.
We found items of clothing for both Robert and Xanthe in the car. We also found Chantel's handbag in the back seat, and through a forensic examination of the vehicle, we were able to find DNA in the vehicle linking the vehicle to Robert as well.
Members of the SES joined police to make a thorough search of the area where the car was found. 50 metres from the car, police discovered this piece of evidence. This is the area where police found Robert's wallet in this thick scrubland, not far from where the car was dumped, just up the road here. And it highlights just how difficult this search effort has been for police. Their divers had to scour the murky waters of this nearby creek. But first, they had to send in sonar equipment to help identify and track the resident crocodiles. Big search area, isn't it? It's been obviously a tough job.
It is a tough job, and obviously recent flooding prior to the disappearance hampered the results and the efforts to start with as well. So we have had divers back there a couple of times.
Police have conducted dozens of searches and taken over 230 statements from witnesses. They've pieced together a timeline of Robert and Chantel's last movements. Peter, you've spent more than 6 months investigating this case, living and breathing it. Do you believe you know who killed Robert and Xanthe?
We're of the firm belief that we have spoken to the person or persons responsible for the deaths of Robert and Xanthe.
What would you say then to whoever's responsible for this?
We are committed to solving this matter, and we will not take a backward step.
Meanwhile, the families of Robert and Xanthe wait.
Closure. We need the closure. We need to know one way or the other whether she's still alive or whether she's gone.
I want my brother back. He's my only brother. Like, I got mates, they call themselves my bros, but this ain't the same.
At the end of the day, if he is dead, then sooner would be better than later, so that we can bring him home, have a funeral and put him to rest and do it properly. You know, at least give the family something.
So, Matt, how close are detectives to solving this case?
Well, Sandra, we heard from the investigators in that story that rare admission that they believe they know who is responsible for these two murders, and more than that, that they've already interrogated them. So it seems that time is running out for the killer. Now, let me tell you, if you're a murderer and on the run in Queensland, then there is probably one bloke who you don't want on your trail, and that's Detective Sergeant Peter Roddick. He's investigated more than 50 homicides, and not one of those remains unsolved. He puts all of that, though, down to the good work of his colleagues and his team.
It sure is a good record, though, so the odds are they may well get their man.
Well, that's what they're hoping, and they've put a lot on the line here, Sandra. The detectives and the team involved in this investigation have moved from Brisbane up and now effectively living in Rockhampton. I asked them how long that arrangement, living away from their families, would remain, and the answer was for as long as it takes.
And of course, contact Crime Stoppers if you have any information at all about this case. We'll update you on any calls later in the night, but remember, sometimes what appears the most trivial piece of information can in fact lead to a breakthrough. After the break, bikies, drugs and the boxing identity on the run and wanted by police.
He became aware of our activities. We suspect that he either made attempts to leave the state or had in fact left the state shortly thereafter.
You're with Wanted. Now to another appeal for your help, this time from police in WA. They're hunting this man, Sean Eaton. He's wanted over a multi-million-dollar drug bust earlier this year, and police believe he's now on the run interstate or even overseas. Our WA crime reporter Nick Way investigates.
March 22nd this year, and West Australian history is being made for all the wrong reasons. Police seize almost 15 kilograms of methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin and ecstasy out of a warehouse in the Perth suburb of Malaga.
It's certainly one of the biggest seizures that the WA police have been involved in. We're sort of talking around the $8 million mark.
A further raid nets $236,000 in cash. WA is famous for its mining bonanza, but there is a dark side to the boom, including a growing market for illicit drugs. And now it seems some of the world's most infamous gangs could be trying to cash in. Police believe the Malaga haul is linked to the Comancheros outlaw motorcycle club. The notorious bikie gang arrived here from the east about 3 years ago. They were part of a wave of bikie arrivals, all suspected of chasing a slice of the WA drug market. Another gang, the Finks, crossed the Nullarbor around the same time, and the Canadian-based gang, Rock Machine, now boasts its biggest Australian presence in Perth. The arrival of the new boys didn't go unnoticed by the local gangs, and soon blood and bullets began to fly. In 2011, the battle between the Rock Machine and Australia's biggest gang, the Rebels, spilled into a suburban shopping centre and sports ground. A bystander took these photos and police charged 2 men with assault. Things get even more violent in this dramatic CCTV footage of Rock Machine militiaman Benjamin Sipkus shooting Rebels chief Nick Martin. He beats an attempted murder charge but is sentenced to more than 6 years jail. Benjamin Sipkus told the WA Supreme Court that he was ordered to shoot the Rebels chief that night or face the prospect of being shot himself. It's that sort of deadly logic that prompts the tough police stance on outlaw gangs.
We target them in particular for illegal activities, and obviously we will continue to do that.
Fast forward to March this year and the Malaga drug bust. It was just what the police needed to strike at the heart of the suspected bikie-linked drug trade.
It would appear that the syndicate that was based around that operation has certainly been finished at this stage.
The investigation into the Malaga drug bust is now focused on former champion boxer and fight promoter Sean Kelvin Eaton. What are Sean Eaton's bikie connections?
There are certainly indications that there are associations, but again, those associations are subject of an ongoing inquiry.
Sean Eaton once managed a Perth nightclub and, in a previous life, trained international fighter Erin McGowan. There's no suggestion that any of Eaton's boxing associates are involved in criminal activity. Now there's a warrant out for Eaton's arrest for his suspected role in the Malaga drug ring. But the 35-year-old has left his partner and 2 children in Perth and disappeared.
Information would indicate that he became aware of our activities shortly after the search warrant was conducted at Malaga, and we suspect that he either made attempts to leave the state or had in fact left the state shortly thereafter.
So can you just tell us about these 2 photos? They're sort of parts of Sean's life?
Yeah, the 2 images that we do have, the one on the right is probably the most recent that we were able to obtain. We would expect that he may have changed his appearance, obviously since becoming aware of our involvement.
So, I mean, obviously he's got a goatee in this nightclub shop, but quite conceivably he's growing his hair, might have even have a beard now.
Yeah, that's right. There's a number of ways people can disguise themselves.
This is a police artist's impression of how Sean Eaton may look with a beard.
I urge all members of the community, if you're aware of Mr Eaton or know of him, then please contact Crime Stoppers so that we're able to locate him and obviously put him before the court in relation to these matters.
Well, Nick Wade joins us from Crime Stoppers in Perth. And Nick, do police have a better handle on where Sean Eaton might be?
Well, Sandra, they are certain that he's not in Western Australia, but they say that he certainly could be hiding out in any of the eastern states. It's also possible that he's receiving assistance to avoid arrest. We do know that he has some unspecified links to gangs and also that he's likely to have access to considerable amounts of money, which means that he could have travelled overseas. However, that said, he does have very, very strong connections in Perth. He's a WA born and bred man, and police don't think that he would have travelled too far afield. That's why they're putting out this appeal.
Now, you mentioned in that story bikie activity. How prevalent is that in WA?
Well, Sandra, as we speak, more than 400 patched members of Australia's biggest gang, the Rebels, are actually camped on the West Australian, South Australian border on the Nullarbor, waiting to stream into Western Australia tomorrow morning. And that's prompted the biggest police operation here since the Queen arrived for Choggum in 2011. But I can certainly tell you that they're not getting the same kind of royal treatment. They'll be under incredible scrutiny. They'll be brought through 2 at a time. It's going to take hours tomorrow morning. All of their bikes will be photographed. They'll go over the serial numbers, they'll photograph the riders, and they'll be looking for anything illegal. And when the bikies are in the state, they won't be allowed to go into any licensed premises, no clubs, no pubs or taverns. Of course, their national president, Alex Vella, who's leading the run, says that they're just big boys who like big bikes. But of course, police beg to differ. They'll be on the lookout for guns and drugs and to keep the peace.
Certainly sounds like it. Nick Way, thank you. And if you can help with the hunt for Sean Eaton, please get onto Crime Stoppers. Phone or go online, and remember, you can do it anonymously. There is, of course, also our website, wantedtv.com.au, and for more information on all our featured stories. You can follow us on Twitter too. The hashtag is WantedTV.
Well, when we come back on Wanted, I'll be joined by the head of Queensland Crime Stoppers to check on any feedback from the Robert Martinez and Chantel Barnett double murder. And on the trail of cattle duffers, a sneak peek at an unusual crime story with former Detective Superintendent Terry Dalton turned cowboy.
Because I want to see these people bloody convicted, because they are going to come back.
Welcome back. This is Wanted, coming to you in part tonight from Queensland, and I'm at the Crime Stoppers call centre in Brisbane, where I'm now joined by the head of Crime Stoppers Queensland, Trevor O'Hara. And Trevor, we've just seen the murder investigation into Robert and Xanthe. Has there been any information yet at this early stage?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. We've actually taken quite a number of calls already this evening, and the story's only just gone to air. So we'll be looking forward to receiving some more calls from the public, and hopefully we'll be able to help pass that information on to detectives and get a result there.
Sensational. The other story we were looking at tonight, Trevor, was an appeal from the wife of missing man Paul Nation. Has there been any updates on that case?
Yeah, some positive news. We've taken quite a number of calls here at Crime Stoppers in Queensland in relation to that, particularly the distinctive vehicle that he was seen to be driving that was reported on Wanted. So hopefully with those calls we have received, which is some potential sightings between Tweed Heads and Mackay, we might actually get a result on that one in the future.
Quite specific information and quite encouraging for the family. Thanks very much, Trevor.
Pleasure.
Well, keep those calls coming in, and remember you can do so anonymously. Coming up next week, retired former detective Terry Dalton has been in Queensland as well, investigating an unusual story, Terry.
That's right, Matt. I've been on a special assignment to outback Queensland, way out west up Charleville way. I go on patrol on a chopper on the trail of cattle thieves. It's big business, not just in Queensland, but right round the country, and the crims are cashing in. In one raid alone out here, the cattle crooks got away with more than $1 million worth of cattle.
At the end of the day, while the money went, and it really hurts financially, at the end of the day, I don't care. If I didn't ever see that money again, I will survive, because I want to see these people bloody convicted, because they are going to come back.
Scott Harris, one of the most down-to-earth blokes you'd ever want to meet. It's tough enough in the bush dealing with drought and shifting markets, but these crimes are bringing some cockies to their knees. And here in the city, you and I could be eating stolen meat. Make sure you catch the full story next week.
Looking very sharp there in that Akubra, Mr. Dalton, can I say that's one story not to be missed. Well, that's Wanted for tonight. We hope you can join us next Monday at 8:30.
Until then, on behalf of the whole team, have a good night. And remember, evidence is everywhere. So if you see something, say something. Good night.